DJ Mzenga Man.
Ho! Cheer! Young Hope, you heard? Jigga Man. Woo! Feeling it. Mr. So nice, I like the
The thing is that it's quite disappointing to notice that there are some music fans out there who could not understand the whole purpose of this type of idea, because first and foremost, that verse was a sampled verse, like you are saying. It's from a Jay-Z song. But now here is a cypher where you do an introduction. You understand what I mean? That verse was not part of the verses in the cypher. It was an introduction. When you listen to the cypher, you notice that after the Jay-Z verse, there's a voice that comes to introduce the cypher. That was me speaking. And the first statement I made was, that's how Hov would sound on this. Now Hov is Jay-Z. It's basically saying that's how Jay-Z would sound on this. Meaning that could be a Jay-Z verse, but at the same time, it's not like Jay-Z jumped on the cypher. It was originally from a different track, and then it was sampled creatively and put on that. And we are saying that's how Jay-Z would sound on a DJ Mzenga Man cypher. At the end of the day, it's the creative aspect we are looking for, because we are supposed to be creative. It's not only just about the cypher, but at last you need to also understand that this is business and there's a marketing aspect to it. The fact that everyone that day when I posted there's Jay-Z on my cypher was talking about my cypher, it is because of this type of move. And the cypher got to everyone, and everybody was interested in listening to it because of the Jay-Z thing. It's a marketing thing, and it worked out. But at the same time, I expect fans to appreciate, because that was not in any ways something that you would refer to as stealing, because my first statement says, this is how Hov would sound. Welcome to the DJ Mzenga Man 2018 End of Year Cypher. Let's get it on. Then slap these stats. Because when the cypher is playing, you never notice any break where I was speaking or anything. The only break was after the first verse, which we are saying was the intro to introduce the cypher. So in hip hop, people do sample different things. They can sample a beat, you can sample a vocal. I'll give you an example. Even like on my own records, if you've heard that song I did, a collaboration song I did with Slap D called The Game. Been around the game, Monga Cheni Mumukosi, been around the game. You see, those lines, I got those lines from a song that I produced. Actually, it was a cypher, 2013 cypher, Slap D's verse. That's where I cut those lines, made the beat for it. Of course, I did it creatively, repeated it, and then I got a singer to do some, just to add some vibrations to it and some spicing and all that. You understand what I mean? So, a lot of artists in Zambia, in Africa, on the international thing outside Africa, in the US and all over, do sample. You understand what I mean? They do sample. When they sample, then they do their own thing and all that kind of a thing. But of course, me, I didn't want to do it in an ordinary way. I wanted to do it in a very unique way, and that's exactly what I did. So it's a bit shocking to see that people even think they managed to find out that this was a stolen. It wasn't. Come on. How was it difficult to even understand that simple dialect? You understand what I mean? It was straightforward. Someone is saying this is how Hov would sound. How would I say this is how he would sound if at all he was really on the cypher? I wouldn't say that. You understand what I mean? But at the end of the day, I didn't want to put some fake guy to imitate Jay-Z and say this is how Hov would sound. I would rather get the original sound, the original verse from Jay-Z, put it on my beat and say this is how Jay-Z would sound. Because even someone from the US or outside Zambia, when they even see that thing, like there's Jay-Z on a DJ Mzenga Man cypher, they would want to listen to it. And then when they get to listen to it, they've listened to my cypher, they've listened to our rappers, our local rappers, then they also listen to the Jay-Z verse, and they will know it's a sampled verse because Mzenga Man said that's how Jay-Z would sound, and they would understand. It's clear to say, oh, okay, so he had sampled this verse and said, okay, that's perfect. You understand what I mean? So it's not in any way supposed to come out like Mzenga Man cheated and all that. You don't expect me when announcing that the cypher is dropping to start explaining to you, so the first verse Jay-Z did the on the intro, Jay-Z did something and then I just sampled. No, I would kill the whole essence of a surprise cypher. It was enough to just say there's Jay-Z on it and all that, and then everything unfolds as you listen to the cypher. What is retrogressive is to see people start trying to fight back and start saying all those, bad things. DJ Mzenga Man stole this. He thought we wouldn't find out. Come on, what do you mean you thought he thought you wouldn't find out? Because he was saying it on the cypher to say this is how Hove would sound. So basically that's my response to that. So it was a creative move, it was a business move, it's a genius marketing plan, and it worked out. And I expect people to support such type of creative. If you noticed my ciphers, all of them from 2013, there's always this creative part about them. For instance, the 2013 cipher, when everyone raps, at the end of it all, the beat changes and there's just another beat that speaks to the listeners. It's just short, of course. That was the creative part about the 2013 cipher. If you've listened to 2015 cipher, what starts the cipher is that 20th century thing, like a movie starting. You understand what I mean? If you listen to the 2017 cipher, you find that I had an interview with I think that was Chromes from Power FM a week before I dropped my cipher. He was trying to find out when the cipher is dropping and all that, and appreciating me for what I've done. You know what I mean? As far as ciphers are concerned, he was saying, I can safely say you're the king of ciphers and all that. And then I just got that same phone call because it was recorded on my phone, and then cut out a few things, put them as the intro on my 2017 cipher. So every cipher that I do, there's always some creative aspect to it, because I'm an artist, and in art you are not limited to some. You are supposed to be diverse. That's the whole point of being creative. You're supposed to be creative. You understand what I mean? Because if we constantly bring the obvious to the people, like this is how it's supposed to be done every day, it sounds the same, it becomes monotonous. So this was just a creative move, something we did as me and my team. We feel there was nothing wrong with that. It was an A+ move, and we expect people to support this, because like at the end of the day it was just something done to just make the cipher creative and reach out not only the local scenes but also international scenes and so on and so forth. Mzenga's MBs before his own brother. Now I rep Zambia. Well, what I can say is that the boy is blessed. He's super talented. I've never seen talent as raw as the one in Fly J, because most of the things he writes himself. Of course, just like any other rapper, when they are rapping, as a producer you'd be able to guide them and also control and say, why don't you put this line like this, why don't you do this like that. You understand what I mean? But the whole thing is created by them. So that's the situation with Fly J. He creates his own stuff, and you can edit here and there to say, okay, here it's supposed to connect like this, do this and that. But at the end of the day, he's the writer of that thing. So he's super talented, and he's way ahead of his time, because he even does freestyles. You can ask him to speak about this piece. You can ask him to speak about anything around you. Say rap about this. He'll start rapping and rhyming about that thing. You understand what I mean? That's how you tell if someone is really freestyling or not. So the boy, nothing can be taken away from him. Of course, people can exaggerate to say he killed everyone, because he's just 8 years old. You understand what I mean? And of course, he has support from everyone, because it's like very much unusual to see a boy like him, standing against the greats. That's about Fly J. He crafts his own stuff, but of course it's edited like the way you would sorry about that, the way you would edit stuff by some other rapper when they're rapping and all that. You'd say, here, do this, do that, rap like this, and so on and so forth. So he's super talented. And like I was saying, he's got the support of everyone because he's a kid. He's just 8 years old. And it's normal for people to even exaggeratively say he did well compared to anyone else. You understand? There are people who did, of course, super well than him on the cypher, but he's just having that advantage because he's a youngster, he's a kid. Like how does a kid just do this? You understand what I mean? So that's about Fly J.
Come to my crib, you see the floor clean. I add some to air outing, a airbag plan.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I would say, you see, the truth of the matter is that me as DJ Mzenga Man is open to working with everyone. So whenever I'm about to drop a cypher, a few months before I start recording, I send out invitations to every top Z rapper. No top Zambian rapper who will tell you Mzenga Man never invited me for my cyphers. I do invite them. Some will accept and then later on pull out. Some will refuse just there and then. They've got their own personal reasons for that. Some will say I retired from cyphers, and some will say I just don't want at this particular time, or I'm busy or something. So that has been the case with some of these artists that you do not see on my cyphers. I try to make it as open as possible. All the big rappers in the game and all that, I try to bring them on my cyphers. Like it's always like that desirable. You understand what I mean? But the fans out there wouldn't understand. So now what I would want to say is I want to challenge all the fans out there to find time, the same way they bombard questions on my timeline, on my Facebook page and all that, to accuse me, to say you don't like this such and such a rapper, you don't want to put them on. Why can't they also try to ask their rappers, like the people they want me to put on the cypher, to say, why is it that you're not appearing always on the DJ Mzenga Man cyphers? Maybe they'll have a better answer. But one thing I can guarantee is you will never hear them to say Mzenga Man never invited me to jump on their cypher, on his cypher rather, because I do invite everyone. And when they refuse, it's beyond me. I can't force them, because it's supposed to be a volunteering kind of arrangement. If you want to jump on this and then they jump on it and all that kind of, then it becomes fun. It doesn't make sense if it's a forced kind of arrangement. So it's not in any ways my fault. My desire is actually to have every top rapper at least to be in one of my cyphers, because that's the whole point. We are trying to put Z out there, Z hip hop. We are doing this for the love of Zambian hip hop. So if we want to sell Z hip hop to the world, then we must have the cream of Z hip hop on such type of platforms like the DJ Mzenga Man cypher, because DJ Mzenga Man cypher is like arguably one of the biggest cyphers in Zambia. Every year, like fans look out for it. They'll always look out for this, and there's always this politics, this talk about the cypher when it comes out, when the list is out, and so on and so forth. So it's something that if we as artists utilized properly can help us take our craft out there, because it's got this huge response. All we need is just to work together and see to it that we push. You understand what I mean? So I'm doing my effort from my own end. It's a struggle. I'm trying to, we only have few top Z rappers, but I really try every year for the past 6 years to at least make something unique out of the few rappers that we have. You understand what I mean? So some people would question, why do I keep recycling people? You understand what I mean? I want to create something relevant, something that's gonna cause, like something that's gonna be out there with the vibe, something that's gonna make people, jive to. You understand what I mean? And then at the end of the day, it's not simple, it is not easy, because you need to make calculated moves to see who can fit here. You see, like the Fly J move, you have to be very tactical and strategic on how you even come up with the names that you're going to put. Yeah, so basically that's that about the issue of me not putting some rappers on my cyphers over and over. You understand what I mean? Like I keep on putting certain rappers and then certain rappers don't appear. The word is, it's not my fault. It is them that do not want to be on these cyphers. So the fans out there must be able to ask them to explain themselves. Obviously they'll give them better reasons to say the reason why we are not on the Mzenga Man cypher is this and that. So that's that. Well, it has not been an easy journey. Like I said, this has been happening for the past 6 years. Every year I drop a cypher. So we hope it could go on and on and on for as long as it can, or as long as situations can allow. So for now, we must just know that it's still on, it lives on. Whenever it will stop, of course, we will communicate to say apa manje even kama ya buta cypher sizambo choka ya sina. Or maybe when we reach at least the 10th anniversary for these ciphers, if we drop ciphers for the for the 10th time, so to speak, then we can say it's enough. But I think there will be a point where it will just start to be monotonous if we do not have new rappers on board. Other people can't, and then it will be like it's just one and the same thing. So we haven't reached that point. I still feel like I can still play around with the people that are around, people that are there. And so yeah, for now it's still going. We didn't know where it's ending. So but we hope it goes on, and even when our kids grow up they can find DJ Mzenga Man cypher.